Today, I want to talk about standardization and how companies like Bathfitter, Empire Today, 50 Floor have all been able to achieve aggressive growth and national growth through utilizing standardization, and how they all have a remarkably similar business model, which local contractor businesses can replicate to allow them to scale aggressively and potentially nationally. We're going to cover standardization, then being asset light, being able to move quickly, and how that links in with core marketing principles that have allowed them to have an aggressive and highly successful marketing campaign. So yeah, let's get stuck in, I guess.
Okay. So I want to talk about value drivers and just explain what value drivers are before we get stuck into the models, and briefly going to touch on the traditional sort of contractor model and why it's a lot harder to scale if you're not sort of productizing and standardizing. But before we do, let's quickly touch on value drivers, because I'll then use these to help explain why the productized model is so effective. Perceived likelihood of desired outcome is one of the core sort of influential features when making a decision to purchase. Then you've got perceived time to desired outcome and perceived effort/sacrifice to desired outcome. If we take a fat loss pill versus working out in the gym and maybe using a PT as an example, with perceived likelihood of desired outcome, it's how likely do I think I'm going to lose weight by taking that fat loss pill than going to the gym and using a PT. Now, I think probably the most common train of thought would be that going to the gym and using a PT is more likely to get you to your desired outcome of losing weight and not being fat anymore. But then you've got other value drivers that can influence your decision. So then you've got perceived time to desired outcome. How long is it going to take me to not be fat, be skinny? So that would be with a fat loss pill. Maybe they're claiming you can lose weight in 10 days or 30 days, or lose 10 pounds in 10 days. Whereas with a PT and in the gym, it might take 2-3 months. And then you've got perceived effort and sacrifice to desired outcome. And this with the fat loss pill is probably the biggest selling factor. How much do I need to change in the day-to-day runnings of my life in order to get to the desired outcome of not being fat and being fit and good looking? So not saying fat people aren't good looking, but getting to the desired outcome of losing weight. And with a fat loss pill, I probably don't need to change a lot. I could probably continue to sit on the sofa. I could probably continue to have a high calorie intake and eat the foods I want to take. Whereas if I go to see a PT, he's probably going to tell me I need to change my diet. I need to be in the gym 5-6 days a week and be grafting. And that's a high level of sacrifice and effort which you have to put in versus taking the fat loss pill. So those are some of the sort of the main influential factors to making a purchasing decision. And I'll explain how these sort of loop in to the offers in a bit. But first, I want to talk about the traditional contractor model and why it is so difficult to scale, both from a customer attractiveness point of view, as well as difficult to scale from an operational point of view for the business owner and for the business itself. So one of the first factors which we want to consider would be time. Time to goal completion. If you are undertaking the same work over and over again, you become like a Formula One team operating in a pit stop. From highly efficient, everyone becomes highly efficient at their role, and also highly efficient at, or you can accurately predict down to a T how long it's going to take to undertake the core service which you deliver. And then as you scale that, you have a larger pool of data, so it becomes more and more and more accurate. When you're a local contractor and you're managing loads of different services, a lot of different subcontractors, everyone's doing sort of a different role at a different point, one becomes hard to get dialed in on how long it's going to take, you're also going to take a lot longer than you would do if you were doing the same over and over again. So for the customer, the traditional local remodeling company and renovation company is probably less attractive in terms of time to goal completion or desired outcome. Then you have perceived likelihood of desired outcome. So if I've called up, let's just take an example. I'm just going to look at, this is a company I was just looking at earlier. So I just typed in bathroom remodeling Washington, and I clicked on the top site in the GBP rankings, and now it's banned me because of my VPN. So give me 1 second. So this is Precision Plus Home Remodelers, kitchen and bath company in Washington. Services, they do kitchen remodeling, bathroom remodeling, tile installation, door and window installation, custom carpentry, finished basements, custom cabinetry. Now they obviously do a lot of services. They are all related in some way, shape or form, and complementary of each other. Totally makes sense. And if you just want to be a local contractor and undertake work on a town or city basis, or maybe just a state basis, this is still very possible. And there is definitely a time and place for companies like this. So there'll always be a space in the market for sort of more custom contractors and contractors that undertake a range of different services. And you can still make a lot of money out of these type of businesses. But if we're talking in terms of scaling, and we're talking in terms of being able to sell your product and service in a way that gives the customer a lot of conviction in you being able to get them to their desired outcome, then undertaking the same work over and over again, like coming back to that Formula One and pit stop team, means that you have more testimonials that relate to that exact desired outcome. So let's say I'm a flooring company and I'm a customer looking for hardwood flooring, and there's a company which has done 100,000 hardwood flooring installations versus a company that is local. They do kitchens, bathrooms, flooring, tiling, and so on. Then I'm probably going to have more conviction in the company that's done 100,000 hardwood flooring installations to be able to do the hardwood flooring job to the standard I desire. The same again comes back with how quickly I think they'll be able to complete the work. So a company like this is just a sort of standard bathroom remodeling company in Washington. Is probably the most common when you search for kitchens, bathrooms, flooring, lofts, whatever it might be, to appear is a range of different services being undertaken. Isn't going to have the same attractiveness in terms of perceived likelihood of desired outcome. Let me just likely. They've got a cap locks issue going on here. What is going on? My typing of desired outcome. Okay, got there in the end. And then we have perceived effort and sacrifice. So if we think about how that relates to the local contractor, again, if I have a flooring company that can come in and can do the job in one day, and I also bring the showroom to you, which is something which we'll talk about in a bit, then I'm having to put in a lot less time and effort and sacrifice. So I might not necessarily have to move house and you go and use an Airbnb down the road because we no longer have our kitchen or our bedroom, because it can be done in one day. So how much effort and sacrifice I have to put in is probably a lot less with a company that can productize and standardize than it would be for a company which is sort of an everyman company, I guess. And then finally, another thing to think about with sort of perceived effort and sacrifice. Let me just write effort and sacrifice here. So we're ticking it off. Realize these notes aren't actually that useful, because especially when you can't spell sacrifice, because I've just been repeating what's in the value drivers. Anyway, another thing to think about is if you're using if a customer is using someone who isn't highly specialized in one service line, then the likelihood of sort of looping in with desired outcome, them thinking that something will go wrong and they're going to have to put time and effort into remedying that, whether it's trying to convince the business that they need to fix the issue, or whether it's that they're going to have to get someone else involved or clear up some mess or whatever it might be, the perceived effort and sacrifice is probably going to be higher than it would be if you're using a company which just does floors, just does kitchens, just does door installs, just does lofts, whatever it might be. Okay, so we've done effort and sacrifice. I just want to show you some examples before I go into pricing. Let's go to bath fitters. So bath fitters, 1 day installations. That was obviously reducing the perceived time to goal completion or time to desired outcome. 2 million installs, loads of social proof. That's increasing perceived likelihood of desired outcome. No demolition, that's reducing perceived sacrifice and effort. So the sacrifice of maybe having to clean up the house or there being a mess, and again, probably increasing the perceived desired outcome, because you want a clean property, you want a clean bathroom after the remodel's been done, and then lifetime warranty, that's increasing perceived desired outcome. But that's also enhanced that, and we'll discuss that in a bit. Let's just take a look at, let's go Empire to today. So free in-home estimate. So bring the showroom to them, and this is something, if we just go onto that ads library here, shopping for floor is 100, that just says 100 better at home. It's the 100 emoji where floors will actually be installed. So again, reducing the effort and sacrifice because they're bringing the showroom to them. Budget blinds, I believe, do something very similar. Yeah, free in-home or virtual consultation. And then they all offer, or a lot of them offer, let's see, like a virtual tool to see what it looks like in their property, which again allows them to visualize and understand what it's going to look like to increase the perceived likelihood of desired outcome. Let me go into pricing. Let's just whack in for contractors pricing. I've decided I was going to do a video on the operations and marketing and like financing. I'm going to touch on financing because it relates heavily to marketing, but and we'll touch on the operations side of things, but breaking down all three components is going to be a hefty video. I've also lost myself on camera, but so how they're able to achieve competitive pricing and really good margins is, one, they're asset light. So they bring the showroom to the customer. So they don't necessarily need a physical showroom, obviously reducing their overheads. One advantage it has is you're able to convert customers better. Second is obviously reduced overheads. Third would be they have minimum inventory requirements, so they wouldn't necessarily need to stock their inventory in the showroom. They can do make to order, which is another way that they're able to bring down their pricing. Make to order, rather than holding a load of stock and having, again, to have a warehouse to store that in. They can remain asset light by being made to order. Related to that, a lot of them will manufacture their own products, and they have the advantage of economies of scale. So leveraging high purchase advantage, or they have the advantage of, or they can leverage high purchases, giving them economies of scale. If you are, again, come back to sort of the traditional model, and everything business, you're not going to have high repeat orders for the same materials. Whereas if you just do vinyl and hardwood flooring, you're going to be ordering a shit ton of vinyl and hardwood flooring. And then we have standardization, which like standardization of processes, which is that is spelled wrong, but we're just going to leave it and roll with it. Standardization of processes. This gives you the advantage of streamlining and making things increasingly more efficient as you sort of iterate on them, reducing sort of working hours required to undertake the work. So payroll per hour comes down, material costs likely comes down because you're probably there's less waste, and then your workers become more highly skilled, so there's less repeat work, less warranties and guarantees that are going to be utilized by the customers. So we'll just put more skilled, labor costs come down, less warranties required / repeat work. Okay, beautiful. Another thing to think about is they're able to charge a higher rate due to premium brand / specialist in field. Another thing to think about is, okay, let's go again. Another thing to think about is their premium pricing they're able to charge. So if you are a specialist in a certain field, you're typically able to charge a higher rate. Again, that comes with the likelihood of desired outcome, the likelihood of, or the reduction of time to desired outcome, effort and sacrifice having to go in. All of those components are made up of you being a specialist in that field and sort of really productizing that one service. And so you're able to offer a premium price because you're able to do it in a short period of time and at a higher value. And then finally, customer acquisition. So if you are able to optimize for one target audience and one service, or just like a small handful of services, then you're able to continually A/B test messaging, creatives, and you're able to convert and acquire customers better through training your sales rep on the same processes and knowing what works and what resonates with the customer. And so your customer acquisition cost comes down drastically. So we'll just put CAC costs from marketing efficiencies and sales. Just put marketing and sales efficiencies, and then there was something else I mentioned in there as well. I forgot what that was. So now we've covered from a margin perspective how they're able to achieve such competitive and advantageous margins. We'll cover what they're able to do with that. So obviously guarantees and offers, massive enhancers, and you can use guarantees and offers as a local construction, renovation, or contract business, but you're not going to be able to use them probably in the same way where, one, you really understand what you can afford to hand out, and also be able to hand out offers and guarantees that are as aggressive, because like we explained, that you're not able to achieve the same margins if you're not doing the same quantity of the same type of service or product on a repeated basis. And like really, if you're, let's say, a custom home builder, you're not going to want to hand out high discount offers and maybe offers in general, because the perception of your service and your value is likely to come down if you're taking a more sort of salesy approach. So the offers and the guarantees align more with this type of business model than it would with like a small custom home builder or a custom construction company. Let's just fit through a few of these. So you can see 50 floor, 50% off, all carpet, flooring, padding, materials, plus free installation. So they're basically saying you don't pay for the service. No, you will, but they just claim that you won't, and then they'll wrap that up in the material costs. And they're going with sort of 50% off, which aligns with their brand name. And so it's an aggressive discount and offer. And then let's just see if we can stay on 50 floor. If they've got any guarantees and warranties in here. Not that I can see. Let me just pause. Anyway, I can't find it. They probably will do somewhere though. Bath fitters, I think, charge a more premium price. And going back to what I was mentioning a second ago about it can devalue the brand slightly if you're aggressively going after discounts. So I think they've chosen not to do that here, but they do offer a lifetime warranty. And so if they really struggled with their margins, then they would probably struggle to hand out lifetime warranties, because if, let's say, 1 in 10 or 2 in 10 comes back for a lifetime warranty or to renew that lifetime warranty, they're going to have to do the bathroom again, and they wouldn't have much breathing room in terms of redoing it if their margins were tight. Then we've got budget blinds, your local. Let's see, they don't hand out any discounts on here. They're budget blinds though, so my assumption is they would be quite competitive pricing wise. And then let's just check out Empire today. 40% of selected installed styles. Again, so aggressive discount. 0% interest for 24 months with equal payments, and they're able to offer, again, advantageous financing deals because from the pool of data they have, they know how many of those will sort of pay back and won't default on their payments. So almost operating like a bank in that sense. Whereas if you are doing a range of different services for a range of different customers, it's probably harder to understand what customers will and won't pay back. Obviously, I may be wrong with that because the third party is probably going to have to vet whether they would hand out financing for the customer anyway. So there's a separate process for that. But you typically don't see this on like local contractors or local contractor sites. This is probably for businesses that can afford to take the cut from the financing. So take a, let's say, 5% cut, which the financing company will take, or lose on 5%, which the financing company will take, because of the margins they're able to secure through all the other stuff which we discussed previously. And then let's see, have they got warranty? They do have warranty in the customer service section. Product warranties. They've even got here, get $300 off when you sign up. So $300 off on the sign up. And then if I go warranty, 20-year clad finish, lifetime no clog guarantee. So yeah, they hand out extensive warranty and guarantee periods. Right, let's go. So with covered warranty and guarantee, there's another thing I've just added in there as well, which is also with high volume of repeated service. They know they can deliver without the guarantee being required. So if they're doing the same service and to a really high standard because they've nailed their operating procedures, the team and their staff know what they're doing inside out, the guarantee isn't going to be required or isn't going to be claimed by the customer. Whereas if a company was juggling 1,000 different tasks and services, then the likelihood of them having to or the customer claiming on the guarantee is going to be a lot higher. Okay, then you've got offers. So aggressive offers through high margin. Let's cut that. And then finally, you've got aggressive ad campaigns as higher CAC to LTV. So CAC to LTV is your customer acquisition costs to your lifetime value. The more margin you have to play with, the more you make per customer, the more you're able to acquire a customer for without cutting too deeply into your gross profits, and then obviously financially struggling. So the ad campaigns can be run far more aggressively, as well as other TV, radio ads, and then you have more to play with in terms of A/B testing and testing messaging. So currently, bath fitters have 92 live Facebook ads running. And if we just go back to Empire Today, they had, I think it was 45. Kitchen Magic, we can check them out as well. And now, number of creatives doesn't necessarily correlate to total ad spend. They've got 30 running live at the moment, which really isn't that much. But my guess is they've been around for quite a while. They know what resonates with their target audience, but you'd still think they're spinning up a lot more creatives than they currently are doing. That doesn't mean they're not spending a huge amount on SEO, PPC, radio, TV. Where I'm going with this is the more you have to play with in terms of margin, the more you can spend on your ads, the better your testing is and understanding of what messaging resonates with your audience. And therefore, you're able to scale nationally more aggressively. Right, I forgot to do this on Loom. So just a quick one. If you watched all the way to the end, I appreciate your time. I hope it was helpful. Give us a subscribe, and if you want further help scaling your contractor business, we'll be pushing more and more out on our new site, Rainmaker Remodeling, and we're creating a load of assets and tools that are helpful for scaling contractor businesses. And you can drop us a message if you want our help, or you just want to drop us a message. Charlie Bramble is my name. I'll be on LinkedIn. That's probably the best place to get me. Otherwise, you can find an email through the Rainmaker Remodeling site or the Digital Rainmaker site. Okay, thanks guys. Bye.